Well, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly have some huge developments surrounding the suspensions of Laurence Fox and Calvin Robinson from GB News, or should I say formerly of GB News. We'll also be talking about Laurence Fox recently having his house raided by police and being arrested after a conspiracy to commit a crime. That's what it's been classed as after he made some comments about ULEZ and the Blade Runners on a recent podcast. We'll be talking about it all in this video, but before we carry on, if you could, make sure to leave a like rating as it really helps out the video. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. Share this video. But firstly, the announcement surrounding the suspensions. GB News have revealed that they have fired them both. In a post published on the 4th of October, GB News go on to say on X, Laurence Fox and Calvin Robinson were both suspended last week pending internal investigations that have now concluded. As of today, GB News has ended its employment relationship with Laurence Fox and Calvin Robinson. The internal investigation into Dan Wootton continues. So as you can imagine, after that post went out, it was met with huge, intense backlash because it pretty much goes against what GB News have claimed to stand for, right? We're going to stand for freedom of speech, yet they're acting in opposite ways. And as we know, freedom of speech is being heavily removed from society. Look, people can dislike the comments made by Laurence Fox, right? We all know they were disrespectful. There are definitely better ways to air your frustration towards Ava and her attitude towards men's mental health. And I said previously, this whole situation has now made the core issue of all of this be forgotten about once again, men's mental health. As usual, right? But what Laurence said wasn't hate speech. As much as people would love it to be, it wasn't. It was just speech that people hated. And there is a huge difference between the two. I think everybody knew regardless Laurence Fox was going to be fired. You know, he knew it himself. He said it in that response video. Could you imagine the reaction if GB News brought him back onto live TV? I don't think they would have been able to handle it. You know, many people say he shouldn't be fired because obviously they preach about standing for freedom of speech, yet acting in different ways. But when people saw that Calvin Robinson had been fired, that's when people are like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? This doesn't make any sense, because Calvin Robinson was suspended for just standing in solidarity with his colleagues, right? He said, no, this is wrong. He wasn't quiet about it. He stood up for what he believed in, and they fired him for that. So I think people can see where this is going. So obviously now people are asking the questions, well, is Dan Wootton going to be fired? You know, I don't know how much more of an internal investigation they can do unless it stretches to other things. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that one. But we do have another response video that was posted on X. This time it's from Calvin Robinson talking about the whole situation. It's around 10 minutes long. Don't worry, we're not going to sit here and play it all like last time, otherwise you'll be here forever. But I'll play you a couple of minutes where he does reveal some shocking things. Take a listen.
Hello, my name is the Reverend Calvin Robinson. Until recently, I was a TV presenter and radio presenter on GB News, the so-called home of free speech. No, not that speech. I have just been dismissed from my role at GB News following a suspension. Where to begin? I'm sorry, I'm in shock. I do want to share this news with you, but I am absolutely in shock that this has happened. And I think I need to go back to the beginning, which is actually the case of Mark Stein, which is where all of this began. Internally at the company, we were propagandized. We were told this was Mark Stein's fault and that actually he didn't play the game, and that it's okay to say you believe something as long as you get someone else to challenge you. Or you could say, you know, I believe X, Y, and Z, other people believe this. Or in the case of Mark Stein, what they told us is that he presented his opinion as fact without leaving it open to other interpretation. And they told us that he brought it on himself and he brought it on the station, and he refused to cooperate with the station. And that's why they had to get rid of him. That there and then was the line. That was the red flag that we all ignored. I mean, I did speak out publicly as much as I could at the time, but I should have totally stepped forward and put my head above the parapet. I should have said, no, this is wrong. Something's not right here. They tried to shift the blame to Ofcom. I do think Ofcom is a problem. They are a quango of the government at arm's length, and they do interfere over the COVID situation. They changed their rules to journalists must not question or undermine public health bodies. Not just must not undermine public health bodies, but must not question or undermine public health bodies. Later, they got rid of a number of presenters, but one in particular, who I really like. I didn't realise why she'd left until this week, and the papers have reported that she was paid out with a handsome 5-figure settlement because she was harassed by a senior member of management. Now, had I known that, I would have left immediately. That's disgusting. First of all, it's disgusting that harassment is happening from management to employees. But secondly, that the board seemed to have signed off on a 5-figure settlement rather than sacking him there and then. But they will sack other people, and we'll get to that. There's a lot going on here in this story of what's happening at GB News. One of the major stakeholders is looking to purchase the Daily Telegraph. Now, when you're looking to purchase a big, reputable newspaper company like that, your reputation is taken into consideration. So there cannot be anything, no question marks next to your name. There cannot be any edgy situations, which is one of the reasons why I think people like myself and Laurence Fox and Dan Wootton have been edged out. But we are not the first, and we will not be the last. In the news recently, and I found out through the papers, I didn't find out through my management or any conversations with anyone, but they were trying to push us out anyway. Me and Neil Fox and a couple of others, they were going to take us off of broadcast, and they were going to paint it as, this is how we're going to enable free speech, because we'll take them off the network and put them online, and then they're free to say what they want, forgetting, first of all, that Ofcom are going to have regulatory powers of the internet too very soon, because the online safety bill passed. But also, this wasn't a win for free speech. This was a way to shut us down and to get rid of the people who are calling themselves freedom fighters and fighting for the truth, and just to become more mainstream and more reasonable and more reputable.
Yeah, so it seems like GB News have some serious internal issues going on, and I think that's an understatement. Paying off a woman for an alleged terrible situation happening, that is disgraceful, and a lot of double standards being shown here. He also talks about how they were going to remove him and others anyway by pushing them onto the online side of things so they could become more like the mainstream. It's just a mess, and it's probably best they're away from this platform now. They've been removed. They probably don't feel like it now, but in a few years' time, they might look back on this and think, yeah, it's probably best I got out before any other serious internal issues happen. But moving on now from one mind-blowing story to another, Laurence just recently had his house raided by the police and was eventually arrested. He's now been released, but it was for his comments that he made on a podcast talking about ULEZ, where he says he supports the Blade Runners and he'll be out there helping them and happily get arrested for doing so. It was classed as a conspiracy to commit crime. Take a watch.
Or aware of the Blade Runners, is there any particular message that you'd like to give about the ULEZ cameras, about the Blade Runners, about what's being done there, cutting down on the cameras? It's in the press every day. The police are now looking for them. They've arrested a couple. What is your stance on the Blade Runners?
Well, yeah, again, this is where Andrew gets a bit annoyed with me, because he says you can't encourage criminality. But I say it's digital fly tipping. Sticking up these cameras and stuff like that, it's just digital fly tipping. It wasn't there 5 minutes ago. Why should it be there now? I encourage them to tear down every single camera there is, and I will be joining them to tear down cameras as well, because I'm one of those people that puts my money where my mouth is. So I'm pretty close with several, and I will be. Yeah, I'll be out there with my angle grinder. I had a guy the other day phone me up and say, he's a very, very wealthy guy, and he said, I want to put, I'll put 10 grand behind the counter at, several Wixes in London, and anyone who wants to go and do some removal of this digital fly tipping, wants to go and clean up their community, can go and get an angle grinder for free. They can get all the gear that they need for free, and it's all on me. So I would encourage mass removal of the surveillance state, because once it's there, you cannot remove it.
Are you interested in testing the law around this if some people get arrested?
I would be happy to be arrested myself. So, I won't be, when I go out and take their cameras down, which I will be doing, I will be taking my phone with me so they know exactly where I am. Because the Blade Runners are clever. They know what they're doing. But I would happily sit there and sit in court and go, who voted for this? What's your evidence for the Outer London Clean Air Zone? What's your evidence for that? Why are you doing this? I'd sit there and do it, but I do that. I've got several court cases going on, as you know. But yeah.
Hey, look, man, I just don't know why you'd say something like that. Especially when you're someone with a huge platform, a huge influence. There are going to be people out there who are looking at everything you say and do. It's pretty stupid. There's going to be a liberal activist out there who probably may have reported it. Who knows? Maybe someone close to Sadiq Khans saw this and reported it as well. There are people out there who oppose you politically, and this is Christmas Day to them. They are loving this. However, there is the small argument to make here. You've always got to ask the questions. If this was somebody who aligned themselves on a different side of the political spectrum, would this situation have happened? Because in the past, we have seen others encourage crime in the name of BLM and climate change, like Chris Peckham recently, who said he supports crime being committed because of climate change and everything else he said. And it's interesting how there isn't as much media scrutiny around what people say depending where they align themselves, but ultimately it's just got to be wiser. Man, it is pretty dumb to say, as I said, there are people out there who are watching everything people say and do and are hoping and are waiting they can catch someone doing something they can report them on. You know, even the tiniest thing, you know, saying something controversial on social media, they're hoping they can get somebody. But leave your thoughts down below on this one. Ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts on Calvin Robinson being fired and Laurence Fox being fired, and also Laurence Fox having his house raided and being arrested? I would like to know. If you have enjoyed today, please, for me, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. Share this video, but until next time, it has been your boy JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.